coming to you from a studio somewhere out there. It's Enough Already Radio with Fingers Malloy and Tracy L. Connors.
And here we are once again. It's Enough Already, the explicit podcast. What are we? We had a suggestion from Twitter. What did we come up with, or what did she come up with? Do you remember?
Oh, go ahead.
Too hot
if
for
you're gonna
radio.
ask me these things, yeah, I think that's what it was.
So, are we going to call it too hot for radio?
I don't know. I responded back. I think it should be too raw for radio.
Too raw for radio.
I like alliteration, so it's true. I do.
Well, anyway, this is the second week we are doing this, and it's going to be long term. We've made a full-time commitment for this, didn't we, Tracy?
Absolutely.
So we're going to be doing this every week. We'll have our old format podcast style rolling with this, and then in which we will release on Fridays. And then Sunday afternoon, we will release the Wham podcast, where we go corporate.
Yes.
Because we're sellouts. And boy, oh boy, I got to tell you, we sold out for a lot of coin, didn't we, Tracy?
Yeah. It's worth it.
It's true. I know you didn't really want to talk about this, but I want to bring this up right off the bat.
Of course.
This Kathy Griffin thing.
Oh, it's not that I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, it's been played at this point.
Sure.
But I want to bring it up. And let me play the apology. So let me bring up the apology because it sounds very sincere. Mm-hmm. And I want to give you my thoughts on the apology, but here we go.
Hey everybody, it's me, Kathy Griffin. I sincerely apologize. I am just now seeing the reaction of these images. I'm a comic. I crossed the line. I moved the line, then I cross it. I went way too far. The image is too disturbing. I understand how it offends people. It wasn't funny. I get it. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career. I will continue. I asked your forgiveness, taking down the image, going to ask the photographer to take down the image, and I begged for your forgiveness. I went too far. I made a mistake, and I was wrong.
So, first off, I'm offended over the fact that she calls herself a comedian.
Okay.
I find that much more offensive than the image, to be honest with you. But, okay, this is where I'm going to be a complete asshole. Father Time is an asshole and has not been kind to me. Okay? But it looks like Father Time took a shit on Kathy Griffin's face.
Yes.
What the hell happened to that broad? First of all, the bangs, Tracy. I know you're a big fan of bangs on women.
Oh, love them.
But if you go to her Twitter account, that's where this video is, and I believe it's probably from Instagram, right?
Correct.
She looks like the Wendy's hamburger girl and Skeletor had a baby and peed on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she looks like a troll doll had AIDS and then got its hair wet.
I mean, holy crap. I mean, at one time I thought she was kind of cute back in the Suddenly Susan days. Mm. And if you click on her avatar, I guess this is a picture of maybe a book cover or something. You're like, oh, she's cute. Even for being, she's what, 70 now? 72?
Yes.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But holy crap.
Yeah, and she's had a lot of work done. She should get her money back.
No kidding. But look, to me, she shouldn't have apologized.
Mm-hmm.
You're a comic? You get on Instagram and you say, you know what, it was a joke. Get over it. I'm not calling for the decapitation of Donald Trump. And you move on with your day, because this apology that she threw out there isn't going to save her ass with any of her gigs. CNN's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Squatty Potty. Her face looks like a Squatty Potty. I don't know what that means. But Squatty Potty ain't coming back. She's, I guess, had at least one comedy gig canceled.
At least one. Mm-hmm.
Why apologize? It's not short term. It's not going to help you. And if you're claiming this is art, the people that are really offended by this weren't going to go to a Kathy Griffin show anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the only mainstream thing she had going on was the CNN gig, and quite frankly, no one talks about Kathy Griffin except her diehard fans anytime during the year except for December 31st. That's the only time anyone talks about Kathy Griffin. Mm-hmm. And then January 1st, she's like the groundhog in Groundhog Day. She goes back into her hole and we won't see her again for another 365 days. So I just don't understand the apology. If you're a comic, you tell a bad joke, you cross the line. Oh, well, I'm a comic. Get over it. I actually lost more respect for her because of the apology than the photo itself. Because, well, and truthfully, I didn't have much respect for her anyway. Mm-hmm. But this doesn't affect her diehard fans. She's going to be a martyr now. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, this kind of bullshit move on her part, is it really going to make it less likely that she's going to sell out a 400-seat theater in San Francisco to tell jokes about how the gays are different than the straights? You really?
No, she'll be fine in a little while.
This will all go away. Shouldn't have apologized. Shouldn't have done it. But if you're going to do it, don't apologize.
I don't know about the shouldn't have done it. I get why this happened. And I think Scott Adams had a really interesting piece about this. And he's been talking about this phenomenon. And I think we've talked about it on the show. That he's been saying, okay, this is what's really happening, is that we're watching two different movies on the same screen. Right now. And I would contend that there's probably a third movie that people like you and I watch where we're just like, everybody's full of shit and this is all crazy.
And it's highly entertaining.
Absolutely. We're just like, more popcorn, please.
Yeah, we're watching the best movie of the three.
Yes, I think so. Because we're not getting emotionally invested in all of this and freaking out on a daily basis.
Right.
But so he says in this piece, the takeaway here should not be so much about Griffin. The takeaway is that a room full of people involved in a photo shoot did not see this as a huge problem from the start. They were living in a different movie. If you judge this situation to be an error of taste, judgment, intelligence, or morality, you're missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that the country is living two movies at the same time, and Griffin was acting, quote, normal in one of them. So you can follow that. That makes sense, right? That's why nobody in that room thought that was a bad idea.
I completely agree with that. And I truly believe, because she is in that bubble, that she did not think she would lose her CNN gig. She didn't think she was going to lose her Squatty Potty deal.
No, if she had thought that for a second, she wouldn't have done this. But this part I thought was really interesting. So he says, persuasion-wise, Griffin's photo was so over the line that I assume it ruined the movie for a lot of people following the anti-Trump script. So the audience in Griffin's movie just had a mirror held up to them. And if they liked what they saw, they'll stay in their seats. But if they don't like being the villains in their own movie, they might change the channel. So he said history might record this as the beginning of Trump's rise in popularity, which would be interesting. Because I have to believe that he's probably right about that. There are some people that are kind of into the Trump Hitler movie, but then they see that and they're like, oof, I don't know. This is going a little bit too far. You know, it was all fun and games when it was just Russia. And now when it looks like, oh my God, I've stumbled onto one of those beheading videos on YouTube that I never wanted to see. I think I'm done with this movie for a little while. Maybe I'll just tune out. Mm-hmm.
You're into pop culture more than I am.
True.
This was a TMZ photo shoot?
No, TMZ had the behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. So TMZ was invited in to get the behind the scenes footage. Is that what happened?
I believe so. They're the ones that put it out first. So But TMZ doesn't do photo shoots, I don't believe.
Well, that's what I was confused about, because that's not something that I normally associate TMZ with. They usually show up, somebody shows up with an iPhone or, and shoves it in a celebrity's face and asks them questions.
And they pretend like they didn't call the guy with the iPhone to film them.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was confusing to me, but I truly believe that she thought that she would get a little bit of blowback from the deplorables.
Mm-hmm.
But she would be hailed because, everyone in her bubble believes that Donald Trump is hated throughout the country. And she would be hailed as a comic genius.
But it's not even funny.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Listen, I know enough about Kathy Griffin. I have a family member who used to watch her reality show.
Mm-hmm. I used to watch it from time to time.
So I would watch it from time to time. And from what I took away from the show and from some of her stand-up is she's a provocateur.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to say something shocking. At some point, especially if your popularity is fading, you're going to do something like this to try to get everyone to pay attention to you again.
Well, it worked.
It worked short term, but it sure affected her pocketbook. I don't know how much Squatty Potty paid her. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, really, how much could CNN be paying her for a one-night gig? I mean, how much could it be? I don't know enough about her contract. If she was doing some sort of correspondent work throughout the year from time to time.
I don't think so.
So this was just a one-trick pony for her.
Right, but you have to imagine how that redounds to you financially. So being on there on New Year's drives people to check out what else you're doing, blah, blah, blah. It's exposure. So it's not just a paycheck.
That makes sense. It's the prestige of being on CNN for
the cachet of getting to hang out with Anderson Cooper.
Oh boy, that's a party.
I mean, honestly, I kind of sit there thinking she's probably doing this to impress Anderson Cooper. Just thinking in the back of her head that whole time, Anderson's just going to love this.
Right. And he probably did.
Yeah, I mean, he's completely unhinged at this point. He'll probably see if he can get the originals of that photograph. I bet you the originals of that photograph will sell, 10 years from now for a pretty penny.
Oh, sure. Alter it, make it black and white.
Oh, yeah. Well, do you believe this story that Barron Trump happened to see the photograph on television and thought it was real?
No.
Okay, I don't either. But I think that's genius.
Of course, that's exactly how the left would react in that situation. Oh, poor Chelsea was watching TV and she saw it. Just in the White House. She was just trying to find PBS and she was flipping the channels. And she saw these evil right-wingers attacking her daddy.
No, it's even better. He's not in DC yet. So he couldn't just go upstairs and verify that his father's head was still connected to his body.
Oh, jeez. Nope, that's exactly... That's one of the things that I really like about Trump. Is that he's using these kind of tactics.
Yes.
I mean, that's not something that... Would the White House even respond if that were Bush? I don't know.
Probably not. I mean, I don't know if there was any response from the Bush family. I'm not sure if you remember this, but a couple seasons ago on Game of Thrones, they had all this. They had a scene where there were a bunch of heads on pikes because that's a thing that used to happen, and one of them was a George Bush head. Oh, geez. Oh yeah. So there was a little bit of an outcry over that, but nothing like, oh my God, the twins saw it, even though they're in their 30s. They thought it was real. They thought their dad had been transported into this sci-fi, world or fantasy world and had his head impaled on a
There
pike.
was this documentary, I believe, out of Canada about, they threw the scenario out there of President Bush being assassinated. Mm-hmm. And that made the rounds on right-wing media, of course, but
Sure.
I don't remember the White House commenting on it. But this is what needs to happen in situations like this. And we talk about this on the Wham Show, which you can hear on enoughlalready.us, or if you're in southeastern Michigan, you can tune in at 6 a.m. on Sunday to listen to it. You can even listen to the radio station on the World Wide Web, Tracy.
That's amazing.
What a world we live in. But this is a situation where you saw people on the right using leftist tactics, trying to get... I mean, when this photo shoot came out, it didn't take too long for people to start forwarding that image to CNN, saying, hey, CNN, what's up? Mm-hmm. What's up? You going to keep her employed? Or are you going to fire her ass?
Yeah. No, I truly believe the new stance on the right is we're going to fight fired with fired. Well, and part of me, I resent that we have to resort to that kind of stuff. But why not? I mean, everybody, they go low, we go high crap. No. If you take the high road, that's where they'll find your body. That's
right. I'm really sick and tired of that bullshit. Oh, we're better than that. Oh, you like losing then, huh?
Yeah. But we keep our dignity.
Yeah, losing is your pal. But at least you'll feel better while you're losing.
Yes, you can claim moral superiority, and it just doesn't work that way.
That's wonderful. You could claim that moral superiority with your loser friends in your loser bubble.
Yeah, when you're coughing up $5,000 in deductibles for your Obamacare.
At least we didn't go low, Tracy.
Right. When we get tax hikes and all kinds of BS and we end up with a single payer system. At least we didn't resort to their tactics. No, but the left hasn't been engaged in this as if we're in a cold civil war. And it's actually getting kind of hot now, which is disturbing. But it finally seems like the right woke up. And they're like, we have to get on a war footing now. I mean, this has been years of this stuff with people getting just their lives destroyed for silly little things that they've said and done online. Nothing approaching this. I'm going to cut the president's head off and, pretend to cut his head off and hold it up in my hand. Not that I don't find it offensive in the least. I don't really care. But, I think the first victim of all of this might have been that Justine Sacco chick. Do you remember her?
No.
That tweeted. Okay. There's a great book called So You've Been Publicly Shamed that kind of follows this whole rise of the internet mobs and destroying people's lives. So Justine Sacco she worked in PR in New York, and she was traveling to Africa. And she tweeted before she left a tasteless joke saying, "I'm going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white." You don't remember this?
Yes, I remember this now.
And at the time, she had maybe a couple hundred followers on Twitter. Mm-hmm. But I believe BuzzFeed are the ones that picked it up and ran with it. And so this poor girl was on a flight for God knows how long, like 20-hour flight or something like this. So the hashtag became, when does Justine land? And by the time she landed, her entire life had been destroyed. And there are people waiting for her at the airport to get comment, and she has no idea.
And this is news.
Yes.
Someone who nobody has heard of throws out a tweet like that. Mm-hmm. She gets on a plane for 20 hours where you really have a good shot of picking up the AIDS. She lands.
No, everybody knows you get Ebola on planes, not AIDS.
I apologize. And she lands and she has people waiting for her. Mm-hmm.
And she had already lost her job. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine, obviously on that flight, you don't have Wi-Fi.
Probably not.
I mean, you're flying over the ocean.
Yes, planes have Wi-Fi though.
I know, but don't you need to? I mean, I guess there's satellite Wi-Fi, but I would think at some point, that would have to be awfully expensive. It's expensive for a domestic flight to get Wi-Fi. I paid $4.99 once.
Wow,
outrageous!
That's outrageous.
But can you imagine if you didn't have Wi-Fi? You just take off, you land, you check your email, you find out you've been fired.
And that you're the top story on a whole bunch of different news sites.
And you have like 200 Twitter followers when you take off.
Yeah. But this is what the mob does. And that's just one story in this book by John Ronson, which I would recommend reading because it's a nice walk down memory lane of all of these, burn the witch kind of things that the left has been engaged in. Mm-hmm. And it's mostly the left. There is one story in there about a girl, and you may remember these photos as she was at Arlington National Cemetery, and there's a sign there that says like no profanity and stuff like this. And so she took a photograph of herself flicking off the sign.
Right.
And this was something that she and her friends did all the time, according to her. Like if you go on and look at their photos on their social media accounts, they would find signage and then take a photograph of themselves violating whatever, the demands of the sign were.
Right. And
she had her life destroyed as well. And she had some job working with handicapped kids or something like that. I mean, she was a real do-gooder. And this was just one little practical joke that she and her friends had, an inside joke. And her life got just destroyed.
It just is sickening. Look, that's in bad taste because it's at Arlington. But
right.
I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, so you're like, oh, crap, I screwed up. Sorry about that. I wasn't thinking. Mm-hmm. I just do this all the time, and I just wasn't thinking that, I should be more respectful because I'm at Arlington Cemetery. I apologize. And that should be the end of it.
Right.
No, you're fired.
And she lost her job, and because of all the coverage, so this is what happens when something like that happens. Your Google results then are just page after page after page of what a monster you are.
You may as well be Amy Fisher at that point.
Exactly. And so that you have, throughout the course of the book, they actually went and hired people that are reputation fixers, internet reputation. And they have to build all these other sites for you that say all these wonderful stuff about you to get the search results to change. Get those rankings higher up. It's wild.
How much coin does that cost?
A lot.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm. But yet you can Google Hillary Clinton and have wonderful results come up right at the top.
I took 30 seconds out of my life to take a picture and upload it, and it ruined my life. Mm-hmm. Unless I spend $20,000 for someone to build a bunch of sites to say nice things about me so the Google search results will change.
Yes. But speaking of Google search results changing, and I know we didn't talk about this, so I'm not sure if you saw this story or not. There's a gentleman named Robert Epstein, and he works at the American Institute for Behavioral Research and Technology. And he's been looking into the effect that Google search results have on influencing elections, on specifically looking at undecided voters, and how the order of results and if they're good or bad affects the way that they vote. And surprise, surprise, it does. That's not a big shock, right?
No, of course not.
So he published a study about this maybe a year and a half ago, and it's really difficult to find via Google search because they focused kind of on Google.
Okay.
So they decided to sample 4,045 people during this past election. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. That's how many search results they ran. So they had a pool of people that were undecided, and they had them run searches every day throughout the election. They used Bing, Yahoo, and Google. And then they ranked the coverage. So you would run a Google search and send them your results. And then they would determine the bias of the results that you received. So all three of those had bias in favor of Clinton, but Google was way out of line with the other two.
Really?
Yes.
So...
Yeah, so the level of pro-Clinton bias they found at Google, and I'm reading from the extract from this study, was more than twice as high as the level of pro-Clinton bias we found on Yahoo. And did everybody see the same level of bias? No, they said. They found evidence of demographic targeting. So decided versus undecided. The search results seen by people who had decided how to vote were nearly twice as biased in favor of Clinton as the search results seen by those who were undecided. Men were twice as the search results seen by men were twice as biased in favor. So they were really trying to flip people, right? That's what you pull out of that.
Right.
But this was kind of creepy. They heavily focused on the last about month.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to discard all the data we'd received from confidence, the people involved in the study, who were communicating with us using Gmail.
Oh.
Because some of those data were transmitted to us in spurts with dozens of searches being conducted in a few seconds by the same person. Such searches were presumably automated, whatever. So some statistics these data yielded were also suspect. So this is the key part. Compare the pattern of bias values we obtained from non-Gmail users to those of Gmail users. So you can see the search results from non-Gmail users were far more biased than those seen by Gmail users. So they say perhaps Google identified our confidence through their Gmail system and targeted them to receive unbiased results. We have no way to confirm that at present, but it's a plausible explanation.
Wow.
So isn't that interesting?
I would love to know how many right-wingers work at Google. I mean, because I know a couple of right-wingers that work at Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to people on the right who have websites, who have seen memos from Facebook talking about how they can lessen the amount of clicks that these right-wing sites get.
Sure.
I would love... I wish we could get some information out of Google to find out, you know, how much of this that the people that work there, that they're aware of what's going on. If this is just a decision that's made by a few people, or if this is something that's really just known corporate-wide at the headquarters there at Google, that this is what they're doing.
Well, I'm wondering if you could bring a lawsuit against them, because to me, this looks like a campaign contribution.
Well, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, and here's the real kicker. So they say the issue at the end. So they have these bullet points throughout this little thing, and it's only a couple pages, so it's not like you have to read this long, comprehensive study. So could the pro-Clinton bias in search results have shifted votes to Mrs. Clinton? So a comprehensive study published in 2015 in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences found that biased search rankings can easily shift the voting preferences of undecided voters by 20% or more, up to 80% in some demographic groups. So extrapolating from the mathematics introduced in this report, in articles published February, blah, 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 the lead author of that study predicted that a pro-Clinton bias in Google search results would, over time, shift at least 2.6 million votes to Clinton. She won the popular vote in November by 2.8 million votes. Well, without the pro-Clinton bias in Google search results, her win margin in the popular vote might have been negligible.
This goes to show, once again, and this is just more evidence to the fact that Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate. Horrible. When you have
everybody working for you.
You have the mainstream media. You have internet search engines. I don't know about you, Tracy, but I don't watch cable news.
I do from time to time.
I don't get my news from a television. I get my news from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I know where to look for it. But if I didn't know where to look for it, I'd go to Google. I'd go to Yahoo.
Of course. Well, and also when you find a new piece of information that you want to go deeper on, you're going to go to Google to do a search on it.
Right.
And you're trusting that those results are what you're looking for. That they're not going to shove stuff that's going to undermine what you're trying to achieve in your face.
But she had the primary system rigged. It was in her back pocket. She had Google in her back pocket. She had Yahoo in her back pocket. CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. And she still lost.
Mm-hmm.
And she could try to blame the Russians. She can try to blame the Russians. She can try to blame our good friend Anthony Weiner. She can try to blame James Comey. Comey. But at the end of the day, she lost because she was terrible. And she is terrible. She's a terrible person. She's a terrible candidate. And you couple that with a person that is, how old is she? 92?
Yeah.
Having seizures? Oh, wow. So you want me to vote for the terrible person who's a terrible candidate who is in failing health? Wow, sign me up for that.
Yeah, please tell me more. Can I Google this? What will Google tell me?
Hillary Clinton, perfect health. Wow. Oh, nothing.
But you remember the stories during the election, during the campaign cycle. I remember we talked about that, where the Google was, the auto search kind of function, the autofill to the end of your search, and if you would go to look for like criminal, whatever. I can't remember what it defaulted to instead of giving you criminal. If you started typing in CRI, it was like crime bill. Yeah. Instead of criminal record or criminal history or criminal charges or criminal investigation. Or we never looked for Hillary Health, did we? But they were playing around with it the whole time. And this is why they're so furious, I think, partly. They're like, God, we went all out for this woman. We did all kinds of nefarious shit to stop Trump Hitler. And this bitch still couldn't get over the finish line for us.
How pissed off would you be if you knew you pretty much went full bore in the tank for this woman, bent over backwards, and she can't take responsibility for losing? It's somebody else's fault. I'd be like, God damn it, you had Google and Yahoo and Bing and the mainstream media
and hundreds of millions of dollars,
and you couldn't pull it off.
Billions. Yeah. No, they should be furious with the DNC.
Yeah.
For allowing her to get the nomination.
Yep.
To even run for it in the first place. Oh, and that's the other thing. She had the fucking nerve at that Recode conference to poo-poo her email thing once again. And say, oh, it wasn't a big deal. Everybody did it before me. And, or excuse me, not everybody. Other people did it before. It's totally legal. There's nothing wrong. And then the press covered it as if it was Pearl Harbor.
Oh, my God.
What? This is the 2 movies, 1 screen thing again, right? In Hillary Clinton's movie, that's the press coverage of her with the emails. It was totally safe. There was nothing wrong with it. Everything was fine. Okay, Miss Blackberry Hammer.
That'll happen. I've had several smartphones, and when I get ready to upgrade, I take my old smartphone out to the garage and I smack it with a hammer.
That's the proper disposal method, isn't it?
That's what everyone does.
Yeah. It's psycho.
Well, good for her. She's a good person. Well, one of my favorite subjects is again in the news, and that's Anthony Weiner and Uma Abedin. Mm-hmm. Word is around the campfire that Uma invited Anthony back into the home.
Yes.
I feel like I have to have an intervention with this woman. I mean, Uma, sweetheart, your politics hot. You're good looking, but your politics hot. You don't have to settle for this dude. I mean, I rarely give a shit about political affairs and stuff. I mean, you go to Washington, D.C., and you see what happens there. But when you start talking about sexting a 15-year-old girl, that's when it's like, okay, you really, 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 really crossed a line. You're going to have to answer this question for me, Tracy, because I just said Huma.
Mm-hmm.
Is politics hot?
Mm-hmm.
Is Anthony Weiner politics hot for?
Ew. No, he's a male butterface. He is. He's gross. He's just incredibly unattractive, and his personality doesn't do anything to help that cause.
Well, I thought women like dicks.
You mean?
I mean
jerks?
Assholes. Yeah, jerks.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't actually mean the male genitalia. I mean, I thought that women were drawn to jerks, and he's a jerk.
You have to be attractive to begin with.
Oh.
I mean, it helps not to be hideously ugly and be a jerk.
So let me get this straight, Anthony. You're a jerk and you're ugly?
Yes.
That doesn't
and he's
work.
broke at this point, right? He's unemployed and unemployable.
Yeah. Isn't this amazing? Because I believe this came up in the New York Post.
Yes.
That he has been invited back. I don't know if he's moved back in permanently because Uma doesn't respond to my text messages. But Uma. But to think that this man just a few years ago was a congressman.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been reduced to sleeping on his mom's couch.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It doesn't make any sense. And I know that when emotions are involved, you can chuck rationality out the window. But still, my God, what good is this man? As I said, he's pretty much unemployable. He's clearly broke if he's sleeping on his mom's couch.
Right.
So it's not like he's going to help chip in for what their rent is something insane, like
It's like $12,000 a month.
Yeah, $11,900 a month for this, and they're like, "Oh, it's the luxury 3-bedroom, 1,500 square foot." Ugh, it's awful.
I understand kids complicate things.
Sure.
And you do what you can if you're in a failed marriage or failing marriage to stay just to try to keep the family together and to raise your kids in a proper manner. But when there are photos of your son in bed with daddy in his tight underwear that he sent to a 15-year-old girl so she could get a gaze at his junk. I don't care how much you think that he's a great dad. I don't see how you could say, well, I need him around because he's a positive influence on our son. That's insane.
Could she just be like super cheap and she doesn't want to pay for a nanny? She's like, I'll just move him back in because he needs a job anyway.
Either that or maybe he's good in the sack. Could it be that?
I guess. That'd be really good, though, to put up with all this crap for.
I just don't get it. I mean, I'm you've seen the limo photo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she's good looking for politics. You're right.
You would think that there would be some other, and especially she's got the Clintons' ear, as far as we know. I mean, that still means something to some Democrats.
Yes.
You would think there would be a better looking Democrat who doesn't send pictures of his junk to 15-year-old girls that would swoop in and say, hey, Uma, let's go to Potbelly for a sandwich. I don't know. But maybe she loves him I love him. Okay. I don't get it.
I don't know. I kind of see Hillary being like, "This is punishment, bitch.
You will
stay
take
with
him
him.
back.
You will take him back. You will stay with him forever, just like I did." I mean, arguably Hillary was more humiliated by Bill's stuff, but people seem to overlook all that and forgive him because he could cry on command.
Well, maybe if Anthony Weiner learned how to bite his bottom lip and look into a camera.
Yeah. No, he was never particularly apologetic about what he did. It was always just kind of like, oh, shit, I had to go apologize again.
But again, I think people are well past being all that offended when a politician runs around
Yes.
on his or her significant other. It's the...
And the pathetic thing is this is all virtual running around.
Yeah.
You never met any of these women in real life, as far as I know. So it makes it even more sad. It's like, what did you get out of it, dude?
But, you know, he gets in front of a judge and says he's got a sickness.
Of course.
But I struggle with that, too. Okay? Because that makes it sound like he has
it's out
something...
of your control.
Yeah. Next thing it's a disease.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an addict. I'm
Yeah.
like an alcoholic.
Remember, he went to equine sex therapy or sex addiction therapy. You don't remember that picture of him on the back of a horse wearing a bicycle helmet?
It's so ridiculous. This is what they try to do, okay? They try to make it out to where if men are men, 'cause men think about sex all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. They try to make that into a guy's a sex addict. The difference is that most men have a filter and know when things are appropriate and when they aren't appropriate. And if you lose that filter, you don't have you don't have an illness. You're an idiot. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the idea that this is, he needs to go to treatment or this and that. No, he needs to be punched in the face and thrown in jail for sexting with a 15-year-old girl. Okay? That's what this is all about. And this is really the problem when you have a politician who, especially on the Democratic side, who, for the most part, these people never see any consequences for bad behavior. At some point, if you know you can just do this and do this and do this, your id is going to completely take over.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a sickness.
No.
That's just you being an idiot. You don't... Why are you DMing a 15-year-old girl? I don't care if you have the most innocent intentions. You don't DM a 15-year-old girl. You just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone, oh, hey, look at me in my underwear. No, you're not ill. You think about sex a lot. You're like every other guy. You're just an idiot. Good Lord. It's toxic masculinity, Tracy. That's what it is.
Of course.
Which is also an illness.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's a poison, actually.
It's a poison.
Well, that's toxic.
Yeah, toxic. I don't know. But I love watching this. I just don't I just don't get her.
No.
It's a soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And is this you're in Philly. Mm-hmm. Is this what it's like to live in New York City? I mean, you would see this, the tabloids, the stories about Trump and Ivanka back in the day. Oh,
Ivana, you mean?
Ivana, excuse me. Yeah, Ivana. Oh, are they breaking up? Are they staying together? Who's Trump banging now? I mean, it seems like people in New York really get wrapped up with this gossip. You know, when Derek Jeter was playing for the Yankees, it's who's Derek Jeter banging. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed that this story would even. This was like covered in the New York Post that Anthony Weiner is moving back in with Huma. I would think this is the kind of stuff I would see on PerezHilton.com.
Yes. Well, gossip is easy to talk about.
Yeah. Is this a New York thing?
No. Like you said, look at what are all of the celebrity magazines about?
Yeah.
All this stuff. No, we're interested in that. It's like high school never ends, fingers. You get your little diploma and your mortarboard and mortarboard. Is that what that thing's called?
Mortarboard?
Yeah. Your little hat.
Oh, I don't know.
A little stupid hat that you have to wear.
Yeah. But you're right. That it's high school.
Yeah.
But then you had another story that you brought up off the air. I don't know what it is about New York Democrats. But a de Blasio staffer was caught with child porn.
And child porn is the wrong word for this. It's infant porn.
So this goes way past Jared from Subway, right?
Yeah, this is like the sickest of the sick shit. So this is a New York Post, of course, has this story. De Blasio employee arrested for child pornography. Infant porn, damn it. So, leading young Democrat and de Blasio administration employee has a secret taste for sickening kiddie porn that involves baby girls as young as 6 months old.
Okay, now this is a sick human being.
Yeah, this is you just need to be put down at this point.
This isn't Anthony. Anthony Weiner looks like a Boy Scout compared to this.
Yeah. So his name is Jacob Schwartz. He's 29. He was busted for allegedly keeping more than 3,000 disgusting images and 89 videos on a laptop after downloading the filth from the internet. So the illegal smut shows, quote, young nude females between the approximate ages of 6 months and 16 engaging in sexual conduct on an adult male, court papers say. This is so revolting. This is just like shockingly gross. Like, who is making this shit to begin with? Where is this stuff coming from? Who is, porn, infants,
6 months old?
That is so deranged and demented. Like, just buy yourself a Cabbage Patch doll and have your way with it. But keep this freak show shit off of the goddamn internet. And he's a tech guy, fingers.
And to think, you watch this stuff and you get aroused by it?
Yeah.
And so what, you're sitting in Central Park and you see an infant and that gets you going?
Ugh.
What a fucking freak.
Absolutely. So he was employed as a computer programmer analyst. So this dumb fuck that's a computer programmer can't figure out how to hide his porn better. I'm serious. Like, that's pathetic, dude. Like, you know that this is some creepy shit that you're into.
He's got some Hillary Clinton type tech skills.
Apparently. But it's like, why would you even think to search for that shit? How would you find it? And why is somebody creating it? That tells me he's not the only freak show out there that likes watching infants.
Of course not. But it has to be filmed in some sort of weird foreign country.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, where is this originating? But is that just because we don't want to believe that it could be happening here? Because it seems so low and disgusting and debased and ugh. But it could be. Who fucking knows?
Ugh. I mean, do you have any way of tracking where that could be filmed? I mean, I don't know if it's possible. I mean, obviously you could track. Well, I shouldn't say obviously because I don't know, but I have to believe that you could track where it was originally uploaded. I would
That
think.
probably. And then if it's shot on a phone, you could pull metadata potentially and figure out where. But my God.
How would you like that job? Trying
To be the one that has to go find the origins of infant porn. Ugh. It's so disgusting. And this guy, of course, there's pictures of him hanging out with Robbie Mook. You know, hobnobbing with all the DNC types. And this is getting no coverage anywhere.
Of course not.
Outside of the right. So these are the kind of stories where I'm like, the right should just talk about this and talk about this and talk about this and talk about this and push it and push it and push it. But they'll just be like, oh, you guys and your Pizzagate shit are back again. It's like, well, we have an actual arrest.
Right.
And this guy had thousands of photographs. You think it's okay to fuck babies now? You're going to defend baby fucking? Let's have that discussion. Please. Let's have that discussion openly in public so that everybody can see that the left is going to defend baby fuckers. I mean, if you thought Kathy Griffin beheading people was driving some folks away from the left, just imagine that one.
Oh, can you imagine if this were a Duggar? It would be Don Lemon
somebody would have murdered him already. Yeah.
Don Lemon would take 5 minutes away from his impeachment coverage to talk about how Duggar was a sick, child porn watching motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. No, 5 minutes. Are you kidding me? CNN would devote a week to this.
Well, I don't know if Don Lemon would, because it would take away from the whole Russian scandal. But still.
Sure.
Or he would try to tie both stories together and how how Duggar is really part of the Trump administration.
Of course. Well, I mean, this guy has ties to some serious players in the Democrat circles. He was the president of the Manhattan Young Democrats.
Listen, the thing that would happen is there would be reporters in the faces of his associates, the higher ups in the Democratic Party, asking for comment.
Absolutely. And they should.
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. The only reason why Democrat is in the first sentence of the story is it's the New York Post.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to dig way down to the bottom of the story to find out that this was a Democrat at any other newspaper.
Well, it's like the Seattle mayor that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
That had to resign in the wake of, or excuse me, he's not resigning. He's just dropping out of his reelection bid because a couple men came forward and said they were paid to have sex with him as teenagers. But it took to paragraph 27 to be like, oh, the Democrat mayor. No, this is the most disgusting story I saw all week.
Can you, other than obviously the person that is having some sort of sexual contact with a 6-month-old, can you think of anything creepier than this kind of online behavior?
I'm sure if I thought about it really hard, I probably could. I mean, I guess child sacrifice would be creepier.
Yeah.
Like,
6 months old. I mean, what are you doing?
It's so gross. Why? Like, there's something wrong with your brain at that point, I think.
I would think Michael Jackson would have even been above that.
Absolutely. I mean, it never occurred to me until I saw this story that this was an actual problem. But it has to be if these images exist for this idiot to find.
There's such freaky shit out there.
Yes.
When I was in Denver last year and stumbled upon that furry convention.
Oh, those people are tame compared to this stuff.
But until you see stuff like this, you think those people are freaks. Not
right,
the people.
But those are all adults that are consenting to this.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not talking about the people that just like to dress up. I'm talking about incorporating these costumes into the sexual activity. But a 6-month-old kid, wow.
Well, and there's no way that they actually know that. They're just guessing. It's not like the photo they're holding up the birth certificate next to for authentication purposes. We swear this is a real 6-month-old.
Still. So if it's 9 months old,
Yeah, that's too old. Yeah.
Infant starting to lose its looks.
Oh God. His skull is almost completely formed at this point. That's a big turnoff.
Oh.
Sick freaks. So I don't know that this guy survives in jail.
Oh, but good
You
news,
would
he's
imagine
already
not,
in
right?
therapy for this.
Oh. Oh, of course, he and Wiener are going to ride off together on their equine sex addiction horse therapy sessions.
When Anthony Weiner looks at you and goes, "Oh man, you're a sick motherfucker," then you know you're sick.
Yeah. Well, and I can't believe it. I mean, they quote his father in this piece, and his dad is a labor lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So take that to mean what you will. I'm surprised that if he's just, I have to assume that his dad is just finding out about this, because otherwise you'd think this kid would have ended up with cement shoes a long time ago.
Yeah. Right. And how old is he? He's 29. So you figure he's a Democrat, 29 years old. He probably just moved out of the house like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm dad, I'm freaking out about all of my PCs at the house.
Oh, yeah.
And what they have on them. I'm sure he just didn't stumble into this last week.
No.
He's probably been looking at this for a long, 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 long time.
Ugh.
And the thing is, if you look at a picture of Jacob Schwartz from the story on at the New York Post, he kind of looks like Jared from Subway.
He does. So there's a look, huh?
I guess. I mean, he looks like Jared from Subway in his 20s with a ball cap on, except he's already thin. Like, he didn't go through the whole fat thing and then had to eat a whole bunch of cold cut combos before he became thin again. Wow, and I've got a twofer going right now. I'm looking at Jacob Schwartz, Jared Pardue, and right next to him is a picture of Kathy Griffin holding up the severed head of Donald Trump. Which, by the way, the severed head looks more like lifelike than Kathy Griffin, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's actually made from less plastic than she is.
It looks like they used the blood that flowed from her head down into her body and put it on Trump's face. It's got to be. Look, it can't be easy being an aging ginger.
No.
But dear
But just
God.
dye your hair.
Yeah.
Cut it all off and wear wigs. There are solutions to this. Especially when you have a makeup team.
Yeah.
Like a glam squad. But I was shocked that she went on Instagram looking like that.
Right?
Yes.
Do you think that was by design?
Yeah.
Let me look
To a
as
certain
old,
extent, yeah. I mean,
sad, and pathetic as possible while I make this apology.
it could be, and it could also have just been like the immediacy. Like, it needs to happen now. So I don't have time to, the 8 hours necessary in a makeup chair to look good to do this. Because at that point, I think when that came out, CNN had not yet fired her.
It just seems like a couple of years ago she was decent looking.
No.
I don't know what this is. I'm telling you, I feel bad for women when they age. Because it's not easy aging as a guy, but for some reason, women still find older guys, attractive. Mm-hmm. But Kathy Griffin, I know damn well she's not in her 70s, but you can make an argument that she looks like she's in her 70s in this whole thing.
Yes, she's not doing well, even though she's had all that work. Let's see, she's 56.
Wow, she looks every bit of 65.
Yeah.
I mean, does she really look all that much younger than Hillary?
No. No.
And send all of your hate tweets my way at Fingers Malloy for pointing out that she looks like she's 65 and that I feel bad for women as they age. Look, aging ain't no picnic for me either. I have a beard right now. 3 years ago, there was maybe 2 or 3 hairs in my beard that were white. Now, my whole beard on my chin is white. And I curse Father Time. And I'm fat. But I don't feel any sympathy for anyone picking on Kathy Griffin's looks. After all the things she's said over the years. She has no problem picking on people. Kick them when they're down, Tracy Connors. That's what I say.
Heck yeah. They're closer to your foot.
Anything else?
Well, we could talk about the Democrats' Hail Mary in Ohio.
Oh, that's a good idea. So, apparently, the Democrats have such a piss-poor bench that they're looking to Jerry Springer as one of their saviors. Mm-hmm. Jerry Springer, by the way, paid a hooker with a check. Bright boy. They're trying to out-Trump Trump.
Yes.
And A, you're not going to out-Trump Trump. B, other than the hooker check story, people don't think of Jerry Springer as outrageous. When you were tuning into the Jerry Springer show, it wasn't to see what outrageous thing Jerry was going to do. Mm-mm. It was the freak show.
Yes.
Jerry Springer isn't outrageous.
No.
Quite frankly, he's boring. He had a fun show to watch. Is it still on the air?
I'm not sure.
I mean, for a while there, his bodyguard had a show. The big bald guy.
Steve.
But if you... it just shows you how people in politics, for the most part, have run out of ideas, just like Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I mean, did we really need a Baywatch movie?
Absolutely not.
You have a bunch of people in a room who have no ideas, who either go back to the past and try to bring something to modern times and try to make it look fresh and new, or they rip other people off. So this is the Democrats. They go, oh, we need our Trump. Mm-hmm. What about Jerry Springer?
He's the closest thing they have to it, yeah.
He was mayor once and paid a hooker with a check.
What kind of a fucking moron pays a hooker with a check? I don't know. Do you carry around? I mean, this was years ago.
Right. This was like, the 70s, I think.
Yeah. Do you just carry around your checkbook? Idiot. What do you put on the memo line?
Cleveland Steamer. I mean, oh wow, unbelievable! I mean, who that? And again, that goes to the arrogance of politics, where they think they can get away with anything.
Well, they can,
and they usually do.
Yes.
I mean, Anthony Weiner sexting a 15-year-old girl. Jerry Springer paying a hooker with a check.
But he could be governor of Ohio.
Well, John Kasich is a tough act to follow.
Yeah. God.
How old is Jerry Springer? I mean, you have the story in front of you, don't you? 73. Okay, so what's the end game here? I guess it's you hope Jerry Springer becomes governor and then he guarantees or helps you in Ohio when you run in 2020, or I guess I don't understand. Or does he run in, I don't know when he would be taking office if he were to win But is this a situation where they're hoping that he would become governor and then immediately run for president? What is this?
I don't know. I think they want him to combat Trump, and if he's in the position of being a governor, gives him a higher stature and a bigger platform to hit him from, because he's been hitting Trump anyway.
Yeah.
So this would just elevate it, and they can finally have a politician to rally behind. That's not. I mean, he's not as stupid as, say, Maxine Waters, who's leading the resistance right now.
Well, do you think Maxine Waters would pay a hooker with a check?
Well, yeah. I think it would bounce, though.
Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, seriously, if we're doing this, can we find out what Ricky Lake is doing for the Democrats?
I don't know. What happened to Jenny Jones and Richard Bay?
Richard Bay.
He was my favorite. To stay home from school, sick days. I know everybody talks about when they did that, they would watch The Price is Right and all this. I'm like, give me Richard Bay. I'll never forget. He had a show that was called the I Hate My Sister Olympics. Awesome. It's just these morbidly obese sisters fist fighting and pulling each other's hair out and wrestling and screaming every horrible obscenity you can think of. I mean, it was just this.
It sounds very presidential.
Bleep. Of course. Well, I mean, like Springer's any better.
Well, no.
I remember an episode of Springer where a woman was having an affair with a traffic cone. And it was filthy, dirty. Like she had stolen it off the street from a construction site. You know, it had been run over by an 18-wheeler. There's like tire tracks on it that are never coming off. She put a little bow tie on the fucking thing and brought it and was confronting her boyfriend to tell him that this was her new man. I mean, come on.
I mean, listen, you've heard about men who are married for a long time or, are dating. They're dating a woman for a long time and then she switches teams. Mm-hmm. And that guy feels like crap because their relationship in his mind turned her gay. Mm-hmm. How would you feel if it's, well, no, actually, I'm not leaving you for another woman. I'm leaving you for construction zone equipment.
Oh my God, an inanimate object. But see, now I have to wonder if that happened today, we'd have to have a whole talk about whether or not that traffic cone can give consent.
Right.
Because it probably can't.
But you can't judge her lifestyle choice, Tracy.
But she's raping that traffic cone fingers.
Do we know that for sure?
Well, that's what she was claiming. And since she's the only one of the two that can actually communicate, we're going to have to take her word for it.
I would hope that she would make the traffic cone wear a condom.
Okay. She probably just uses a Ziploc or something because she's that trashy.
Oh, good Lord. What a world we live in.
Saran wrap. Yeah. But can you just imagine, like, this is a hope of theirs. And they would, I'm sure, love to see him run against Trump in a national stage. And then we get to compare what decade. I just checked, the Springer Show is still airing. So you've got, 30 years of that show to pull clips from and see the kind of behavior that he promoted.
I had
And then
no
we compare
idea.
that to the Billy Bush tape.
Right. I had no idea that show was still on the air. The only show that I ever see anymore, when I'm usually not at home to watch daytime television, nor would I if I were home, you still have, as far as I know, the Maury Povich, You Are Not the Father shows. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't tell you what's on daytime talk anymore. Other than, you get the Regis and Kathy Lee? Is that...
No, Seacrest is on there.
Kelly
now.
and Ryan.
Kelly and Ryan.
God.
And you've got The View.
Ugh.
Yeah. No, it's terrible. Daytime television is
I would
awful.
honestly, I'd rather kiss a tailpipe than watch The View or Kelly and Ryan. How the hell does Ryan Seacrest have a job?
He's very popular.
He's plain yogurt. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's just there. I mean, God bless him. I guess is he a good looking guy?
He's all right. I imagine he's probably about 5'2".
Yeah, he's like 5'2".
Short man. Uh-huh.
And he can read off a teleprompter.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless him.
Well, he has a pleasant attitude, and apparently he's a really, really hardworking guy.
Well, that's the kind of thing that you admire in a person, that he's hardworking. Mm-hmm. But does he draw an audience? I mean, to me, it just...
I guess so.
I don't get it. It just seems like he stumbles into these gigs. I mean, would American Idol have been less successful if Ryan Seacrest wouldn't have been the host? I don't think so. I mean, unless you had a complete jackass hosting the show.
Well, there was another guy with him in the beginning that got pushed out.
Yeah.
I want to say his name was like Dunkelman or something.
I don't know. Jacob Schwartz? I can't remember. But I just don't get it.
Yeah, Brian Dunkelman. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't get the Ryan Seacrest thing. He's just kind of there, and he just kind of stumbles into these jobs. Maybe because he's so safe.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to see a picture of Ryan Seacrest holding up a decapitated Donald Trump.
No, never.
I don't know. I don't understand this world. It's a mystery to me. Women are having sex with road cones, and Ryan Seacrest has like 7 shows, and he's making $55 million a year. Anything else?
No, I think that's a good note to end on.
All right. Thanks for listening. Where can everyone find the Enough Already podcast?
You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, on Facebook, and at enoughалready.us.
And when you go over to iTunes, please leave us a 5-star review. You can tweet me at FingersMalloy. You could tweet Tracy at Tracy L. Connors. Leave us feedback on Twitter. Tweet us. Let us know you're listening. Say hello. But that's it for now. Thanks for listening to the Enough Already Explicit podcast. And we'll be back Sunday afternoon with our Wham podcast for Wham 1600 AM, Ann Arbor, Southeastern Michigan. Until then, have a good day.
Enough Already Radio is on Facebook. Check out the fan page, facebook.com/Enough Already Podcast.